Hello everyone and welcome to Friday. I have got a really different vlog for you today. So if you've been watching for any amount of time, you will know that Mal and I collect video games. Sometimes it's trying to finish an entire collection, an entire system. For instance, we have completed Nintendo 64, GameCube, and we are near as a hair done with Nintendo Wii. And then other times it's just because something looks interesting. Mal and I love to walk into video game stores and just pick something up that maybe we've never seen before or just looks fun or funny. And we've picked up quite a few games just for the novelty value of them. Today I've got a collection of games that also are very novel for a variety of reasons. These are physical adult Switch games. And I mean adult in that way. They are adult-themed Switch games. These are officially licensed, and that really caught me off guard. I learned that these existed just a few weeks ago, and when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, those aren't real. That's not a real thing. That's not, because there's not an officially licensed adult Nintendo game, or even like a console game. There's not officially licensed adult that's not a thing. As it turns out, it is a thing. So I'm going to show you these games I picked up, and these were remarkably cheap. And I will talk about how I discovered this, why I think these exist, and then also where I got them, because they really weren't that expensive. So I'm going to start with the lowest rated one. These are all rated by PEGI. And none of these have US releases, so none of these have ESRB ratings on them. They're all PEGI, and I'll talk about why I think that is. So the first one is Bushido Battle Double Strike. This is PEGI 12. Next we have Block Knockers, which is PEGI 16, and Hentai vs. Evil, which is PEGI 16. And then these last three are straight up PEGI 18 adult games. There is Waifu Uncovered, Waifu Discovered, which I think is the sequel, even though they changed the name, Waifu Discovered 2 Medieval Fantasy, and the thing that started this whole thing for me, Perky Little Things, which is a wild name. First off, I have to address the fact that this is probably a very strange vlog, because vlog tends to be, I would say, fairly family friendly, and this vlog is just a little off kilter. Obviously, we're not delving into the content of these games, but the fact that we're talking about these games at all is probably a little weird. But these are huge novelties. I was on the internet a few weeks ago, and I ran across the box art for this game, and I was like, that's not real. That's not real. So I looked into it and I found out it was real. And my understanding of these games is that they all, or most, exist on the eShop. And they exist on the eShop and are heavily edited. They're heavily censored in some way. And the reason is, again, this is kind of my limited understanding of this, is that when you put something on the eShop, it's actually going to market in many, many different regions. And different regions have different requirements about what is allowed. So instead of trying to create different products for different regions, instead they just make one product and it goes to all the regions, and that way it's acceptable. So you can find some of these games on the eShop, and they are either available in certain regions or they're available everywhere, but the content has been edited down. However, some of these regions have different rules about what is allowed. So in Europe, where they use the PEGI ratings, things are a little more lax. As a result, if you make a version of this game that is only on a physical cart and therefore is only available in Europe, you can get away with putting the more risque stuff onto the carts, which is why you can then wind up with officially licensed games that are for the Nintendo Switch that are PEGI 18. And it is really bizarre to look at the back of this and see the official Nintendo seal of quality. That's nuts. That's crazy to me. Part of it is because whenever I think of like adult games for console especially, my mind goes back 30 years ago to the unlicensed games that came out on the original NES. You had things like Bubble Bath Babes, and there was a few others. And those games actually ended up being worth a lot of money. So I got to tell you, picking these games up, I mean, yes, there's a huge novelty in owning something like this, but then also there's a part of my brain that can't help but wonder, will these actually be worth something someday? Maybe. It's possible, especially since video game collecting just in general has been absurd. So do I plan on like opening these up and playing them? No, these really aren't games for me, but putting them on the shelf and enjoying the fact that they exist as a novelty and then maybe being worth something someday, that I can get behind. Now to talk about these games as a cost, because these are actually remarkably cheap. When I first discovered this game, I think I had seen a listing for it on eBay actually, and I think they wanted like $70 or something for the game. And that was whenever I started looking into it, and I discovered that there was actually quite a few games. But you will notice that all of these games were published by the same publisher, and that is Funbox Media, which is a publisher based out of the UK. And they do publish these adult games, yes, but they also publish a lot of other things, like a huge variety of games. And I learned that you could actually just buy the games direct from the publisher. So I did. The games are really cheap on their website. In fact, when I got them, there was even a sale going on, so they were even cheaper, and shipping was reasonable, and there's a ton of other games on there too. Now, these aren't like super well-known games. I don't know how good these games are. I've read some reviews of these, and they weren't great. I know that Hentai vs. Evil was like particularly stupid, just being honest. And one of the weird quirks of this one, quirky little things, is that this game cannot be played docked. It requires the touchscreen. So you have to play it handheld. It doesn't even work docked. You also notice that some of these come with additional material. Like this comes with a little book. And I think these come with playing, like little double-sided art cards. Obviously, the pack-in material, I assume, is probably even more uncensored because it doesn't even have to go through any sort of ratings board stuff. It's just additional stuff they included. But yeah, this all qualifies as a huge novelty, and I wanted to talk about it. And I know that talking about it on the blog is a little strange, but for those folks out there who like to collect video games, either complete collections or just, you know, weird things that they find, this definitely qualifies as a weird thing that I found. I don't plan on finishing the Switch collection because it's too hard. It's just too difficult. There's too many companies like Limited Run Games and Super Rare Games and the like that are constantly putting out games that, I mean, for one, have limited runs. There aren't very many of them, but then also, more than ever, there are indie games that are getting physical releases. So there's thousands of Switch games. So I don't plan on finishing Switch, but I will always pick up stuff that I find interesting. And when the price is right on novelties like this, yeah, I will definitely add these weird officially licensed adult Switch games to my collection. Okay, I'm done. It should probably be obvious, but I'm not affiliated or sponsored or anything with Funbox Media. I just happen to notice that this is the only company that seems to be doing this right now, so that was where I had to pick up all that stuff. But if you're interested in these for, you know, either novelty purposes or otherwise, you can visit Funbox Media's website, and they do have other games on there. Games that I realized actually have been released in the States, but were published by an American publisher here, just because I recognized some of the games on their site, and I was like, I think it's GS2 is the name of the publisher in the States. I was like, GS2 has published a bunch of these, so they must be affiliated in some way. Okay, I'm done. I hope you learned something interesting. I know that I did, and yes, adult Switch games, physical Switch games, is a real thing, and you learn something every day. Let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?